Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another weekend AMA, another weekend live stream. Apparently I accidentally just inserted an ad, so I apologize for that. So you guys are just starting, not what I meant to do. I was just wondering what that $ button did, and apparently it injects the ad. Never saw that before. So as you may already know, this is the weekly live stream where I try to do a little bit of mentoring, try to give back, try to answer some questions, all that sort of stuff. We do this every week. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like the video so other people can find it. That's what I ask. Now, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about something that I find is sort of a weakness in maybe some junior developers and maybe even some senior developers. The idea that you know everything. So, I've interviewed for quite a few roles, and one of the places that has impressed me more than not, and asked a good question, what I find to be a good question is, what do you do when you don't know something? And one of the worst things you can do is answer something, and it's a natural tendency, right? Because especially as you feel, as you are starting your career out, maybe you are a little uncomfortable in your own skin and you don't know the answer. It's okay to say, I think it's this, but I don't really know, as long as you're saying, understand that it's a guess, But the worst thing you can do is answer a question incorrectly with confidence. It's okay to answer a question, elaborate that you're not sure. But another thing is to just spread false information. And I think this is something that happens with junior developers and developers who are always worried about having the answer on hand. And the honest answer is, I don't know all that much. What I do know is how to learn. I do know how to research, and I do know how to go find an answer, or at least track down an answer to solve issues. That's what I know. And so if someone asks me something I don't know, I typically answer like that. I've never done that. I don't know. But what I've done with something similar, this is how it works. That's my guess. That's typically how I answer a question that I don't know, but I might have some insight into. And that's important, right? It's important for you to be able to be honest, I really think, at the end of the day, because honesty is probably one of the most important traits a person can have, a developer can have, a individual can have, in truth. And being honest when people confront you may be awkward. Being honest when people confront you may be uncomfortable and may not be what you want. But occasionally you have to be honest. And not occasionally, always you should be honest. And occasionally it will be uncomfortable. But as you go and you answer things honestly, and as you go and say, you know what, man? I got no idea. I'll be honest with you. I got no idea. I'll go find out, though, because that's what I know. I know I can go find out. I've gained those skills. I've gone and worked on those skills to go find out and to educate myself and educate others. And next time I will know. At the very least, next time I will remember that I used to know and that it might be in this repo. And let me get back to you. So be honest. If people ask you, and this goes for your interviews as well. The thing I hate a lot of things. But the thing that bothers me as someone who's interviewed candidates is when I ask them a question and they just bullshit an answer that I know is not right. It's safe to assume that if you are being interviewed and they ask you a question, they know the answer to that question. If I am interviewing you and I ask you what async await is, how you might choose it, and you just start bullshitting an answer because you're not really quite sure, you got this very vague idea that you start just throwing keywords out. Yeah, it's got to do with asynchronous and then awaitness, and then you await the asynchronous, and you just start throwing whatever words that you can think of around, and you get issues, right? Because the people are going to know that you're BSing them. And secondly, you're wasting time in the interview. So everyone has time in interview. The best thing you can do is say, you know what, I don't really know. And what you can do instead is just kill it on the questions you do know. There's plenty of questions you don't know. I recently had a phone call with a CIO and a CTO who both were asking very complex, hard questions. And I was told completely okay saying, he's like, what would you do if you had to do breadth first search? I would say, first thing I would do is Google breadth first search. That would be the very first thing. And that's honest, because I don't even remember what a breadth first search is. I pretty much only remember binary search off the top of my head. But what that gives you in your interview is, one, you're proving that you're an honest individual. You're proving that you're not there trying to con them. Two, it gives you the time to go kill it on the questions that you are. I would rather have you skip 5 questions instead of vaguely answering oftentimes wrong 5 questions. Skip the 5 questions. I don't know. Okay, cool. And then get to the next 5 where you can give those long, elaborate answers that shows that you have some in-depth knowledge about topics. That's what you should be doing. That should be sort of your phone interview technique. Don't try to BS and just get the check mark, because oftentimes it does more harm than good. So that was anyhow today's intro. I think it's important, and I think it's uncomfortable. I think it's uncomfortable to be honest with yourself and with others. And this can go for anything in your life, not just professionally. This could go with your relationship, could go with your family. Anyhow, with that being said, look at these eyes. Do these eyes look so... Anyone watch these videos? I had half a cup of coffee in a week, boys. In a week. Half a cup. That's all I had. You like this shirt? Half a cup of coffee in a week. I dropped it like a bad ex-girlfriend. That's what I did. That's or boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend. It's 2019, y'all. It's 2019. Don't judge me. All right. Catch me outside. How about that? All right. Anyhow. How's the headache? It's gone. Headache was there for about 2 days. I will say I've been craving sugar, so I've been sort of offsetting it by eating copious amounts of candy. Not the best thing, not the worst thing, but it is what it is. And eventually I'll have to ditch that for like fruit or something. But yeah, man. How am I? I'm good, man. It's every once in a while I catch myself in a video and I see myself. I see myself and I go, that guy looks unhealthy. That happens every once in a while, where I see myself and I go, that looks unhealthy. I'm tired all the time. I'm miserable. And I got to keep moving forward. And it's like, the hard thing is to stop, but I'm going to tell you a very, very basic thing that's going to sound very dumb, but I have many plans for the future. How I'm going to retire early, how I'm going to invest, how my career is going to go, how I'm going to progress. I have those very long-sighted plans. But when I'm actively working on a plan, I only worry about it one day at a time. What I mean by that is you only have so much mental energy, and things that make me anxious, I hate being anxious. I'm a naturally anxious individual. Conflict is something that bothers me like anything in this world. I'm 31 years old, and I still don't deal with conflict well. But I deal with it better than almost everyone I know. And what I mean by that is the way that I deal with conflict is, even though it makes me anxious, even though it makes me sick to my stomach, I immediately go and tackle the conflict. All right, there's conflict. Great. Let's talk about it. Because you know what's worse than that conflict This is what a little bit of knowledge. That Ty Lopez knowledge is like the real life knowledge. It's a little bit of knowledge I'm going to drop on you. The thing that's worse than that conflict is not addressing the conflict. So instead, talking about things that are issues, and not only that, being honest, being complete transparency, being like, you know what, man, I didn't like what you did to me. I felt like you slapped me around, and I appreciate that. Whatever it is, you just gotta be honest and tell people like it is. And not only will you feel better, oftentimes you will resolve the conflict. And there is nothing more worse than anxiety. And so I get so anxious not addressing these things and just letting it be there, because what happens is my mental energy, my stress, that's all we're focused on. All we're focused on is this conflict that we don't want to address. We don't want to address the conflict, so we're avoiding it, and we're actively mentally avoiding it. So all we're doing is thinking about it. You know how you stop that? Is you just go resolve the conflict, for better or for worse, but it's resolved and you can go on living your life. So keep that in mind. Have I tried meditating? I have in the past. I would say that it's something I'd like to do again. And I would say that I didn't actively get into it. I'd say the only time I actually successfully was meditating was when I was doing yoga on like a 4 to 5 day a week, and meditating was part of the class that I was doing. So that's probably the only time I actively really enjoyed yoga. Not enjoyed yoga, but actually successfully handled meditation. Yeah. Exercise is fantastic as well. Go clear that mind. Go get healthy. It's amazing how just taking care of your physical well-being, how your mental well-being clicks. Yeah. I got to do more exercise. I've been starting up again. I've been doing about 10 minutes, 2 days on, 1 day off. You loving the 5-minute project videos? I'm glad you like them, man. I got to do one this weekend. I'm a little bit preoccupied for the weekend, but I'll try and get something out. Might just do 2 sort of audio videos this weekend and come on with another one later. I haven't tried a sensory deprivation tank. It doesn't really interest me. I'd be down to try it. I kind of feel like it'd feel a little claustrophobic. I don't know how I feel about that. What I will say I have tried is a cryotherapy thing, which isn't really for a mental thing. It's more for like a physical rejuvenation aspect. And I really like that. I absolutely like the cryotherapy. And it's something I've thought about doing again repeatedly. Like just making it I only did it once, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I felt very healthy and alive after doing about 60 seconds in like negative 200 degrees, or however cold it gets. You go in there for about 60 seconds. They put the light on. They put like the clock on there, and it counts down. You're looking at it. You're shaking. Your breath is turning to ice. You go out there. You got this ice mustache going on. It was fantastic. Groupon usually has a couple of deals on them if you're looking to try it out for cheap with like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or something. When we first started, what was your stack? Professionally or as I was learning? How do you handle CORS errors? There's a couple of ways. The main thing is if you're dealing with your own servers, you can change the server settings to handle that. That's usually the main way. The other way is if you're hitting an API, you hit it from your server instead of from the front end. So yeah, so you can wrap an external API in a server-side logic, and that will usually handle that for you. It's because you're doing a cross-origin request from a site that usually is the problem. Yeah, but so the Chrome extension to disable it will add headers that sometimes work, sometimes don't, but that's only going to be on your application. You can't just be like, hey, everyone just install this Chrome extension for your application, please. Starting to learn JavaScript. Any tips or resources? Freecodecamp.org is an excellent resource. They are a full stack JavaScript online free. Did I say open source already? Bootcamp. Anxiety is the worst, man. I mean, what did you know by the time I started my first job? HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, AngularJS, Git. I think that was about it. How do you keep good posture at a desk? Get a standing desk and transition between it. That's what I would highly recommend. I should probably be standing right now. Do I work at home? Some days. I worked at home a little bit today for about half the day. April needed the car so she could go and take the dog to go get some shots and go get chipped and whatnot. So because he's a puppy, there's certain shots that you can't get right away, like rabies and whatnot. Yeah, this desk is pretty legit. I like it quite a bit. Yeah. Do most interviews ask data structure questions or basic algorithm questions? It depends on the organization, but if I was to give you a yes or no answer, I'd say yes. You got dubs on the ride yet? Nah, man. I got 3 hubcaps on the ride. You know, a lot of you guys are like, oh man, gotta get a baller car, this and that. Look, man, I got a nice house. Car can wait. I don't care about the car. It gets 40 miles. It's paid off. I bought it brand new for $13,000, 100,000-mile warranty. It's got 3 cylinders. Three hubcaps to go with it. The idea there is save money on things you can save money on. And, you know, even that I could probably have waited, got one with like 20,000 miles on, save it like 4,000. But literally, don't worry about that. Instead, you know what you can get instead of a nice car a lot of times is a house. And like you can go do that, or an investment property. I'm going to start a new job next week as a senior developer. I don't know what to expect. I'm afraid to fail and get fired. Well, that's unfortunate. What I would say is, if you're getting hired as a senior developer, I take it you're already a developer. Just take solace in the fact that you have learned something, and they think that you're qualified to do it. And from there, understand that your role may take on that of mentoring quite a bit and leading quite a bit. I think it's important to understand that. And so what your goal should be is to understand how to communicate to people who maybe are less experienced and also not at your level, and what you need to do is get them better than you. That's the honest answer. A good senior developer will take that junior developer who already has some things they know, teach them everything they know, and make them better. And what it's going to do is challenge you to get better. So is Angular better to know than React? I guess it sort of depends, right? Yeah, people invest in an item that's rapidly depreciating. It's your first time to handle people. Let me tell you this as someone who kind of considers himself senior dev level or near there and mentors people, not only paid but volunteer. I consider this part of my mentoring as well, is that if I had to walk in and mentor a group of developers, first thing, and that was like part of my objective. First thing I would find out is I would sit down with each one of them And this would be more of a manager slash senior dev sort of role. First thing I would do is I sit down with them. I say, hey, you know, let's hop into a meeting room for about 20 minutes. Tell me about your experience. Tell me about what you find valuable. This isn't like we're trying to, but when you ask these sorts of questions, you might have to make it clear that you're not looking to cut anybody. Like, look, I'm just asking this because I'm trying to find where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and I want to see where you can teach me something and where I can teach you something. That would be how I would phrase it. But from there, I would ask them some things that I would find important. I was like, how do you feel about testing? How do you feel about CI/CD? How do you feel about feature flags? How do you feel about clean code, self-documenting code? How do you feel about solid principles? These would be things. And any they don't know, and I would make it very clear that they could talk openly and say, you know what, back to that very first point, you know, I don't know anything about solid principles. I don't know anything about testing. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that with me. You're gonna learn today, all right? And that would be my goal. And I would find out where these junior developers are at and how I can raise them up. That would be my goal. So that would be how I would go about it. I do mentor. So sometimes I do some free mentoring through code.org and things like that. If you want to hire me specifically outside of these weekly 1-hour live streams where I do my best to mentor everyone at once, which is a challenge in itself, I do charge an hourly rate of $125 an hour. And we can sit down and I can answer your questions one-on-one, and we can define a general game plan. So how I like to do my mentoring is I start off with some initial review. And what I mean by that is we're going to review your resume. We're going to review your LinkedIn. We're going to review your GitHub. We're going to review your portfolio. And that's going to take us about an hour. So when we get back, what I'm hoping will happen, and you schedule a second one a week or 2 weeks later, whenever you're comfortable and you have the money, right? You know, $125 an hour to an aspiring individual is quite a bit of money. I understand that, and you can't do this every day sort of thing, right? So the next thing we would do is we would review those changes very briefly, probably for about the first 15 minutes. And then we would talk about what it is you're trying to accomplish if it wasn't apparent. So let's say you're like, I want to be front-end dev, Dylan. That's what I want to do. Excellent. Let's see what skills you have. And you're going to tell me what these skills are. And then we're going to see how they correlate to your resume. And then I'm going to give you a project to build. And then in our third meeting, if we have a third meeting, I will review that project and we'll be doing some pair programming together, where now those same things that I would as a senior developer be teaching those junior developers. So I'll be like, let me show you how we can refactor this. Let me introduce you to this concept. You don't need this comment here. This is why I would name it this way. That's what we're going to be doing in those. So that's typically how I do my mentoring. Any good books for learning algorithms? In the description below, you'll see the a link for, I believe it's there, for God, I have the book. It's in the other room. Cracking the Coding Interview. That's sort of the go-to one. Do CS grads have an easier time than non-CS grads? I would say probably yes. I mean, I think it gets them somewhere. What would you say is the best route to become a remote developer? First, go and get 5 years experience. Then you shouldn't have a problem. That's my answer. Go and get a job, like in office. Start getting that experience. 6 months to a year, just start applying for remote jobs. Start building that resume. Start working remote. And so if someone ever asks you again, hey, you ever worked remote? Say, I work 50% remote at my current job right now. No problems. Work with remote teams. When do you know if it's enough ready to apply junior dev jobs? Is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript enough to start? It can be. That's going to be a little bit rough, I'll be honest with you, but there are internships, there are low-paying web design jobs that will get you there. I interviewed the Amazon next week. Any tips or source the prep. So I've interviewed with Amazon 2 times, and they basically asked me pretty standard JavaScript algorithm questions. I did okay on the second one. I did bad on the first one, and I want to say they did 2 apiece. It's been a little while since I've done it. They're pretty reasonable. They didn't want me. I must have not done it as fast as they wanted, but just prep, do those algorithms. If you want a lot, actually, I think 2 out of the 4 that were in there is in my 100 algorithm challenge course. There's a link in the description. You can get that for $10 if you're interested. How much JavaScript should you know before learning algorithm and data structures? I mean, there's data structures in JavaScript, right? And algorithms for that matter. So you have to get comfortable with all of it. I'm taking junior JavaScript engineer. It's my first professional software role with a startup. It's starting in 2017 and has roughly 10 employees. Is that sketch or would that be okay? Completely okay. Sometimes you got to start at smaller corporations before you move on to global domination sort of companies, right? And it's going to teach you a couple things. One, it's going to teach you how little you know because you're going to have to be doing things that you normally wouldn't do. 2, you're going to be in a very fast-paced and hectic environment. And so you're eventually going to be motivated to leave that startup after you get your money and potential equity and a pay raise. But I think it's a good place to start. Honestly, the very first thing that you should do is just get a job. Get a job, and if you don't like it in 6 months, leave. How's your next course coming along? Expected date coming up soon. So on that sort of note of my course, I have taken a step back. There's been some personal things in terms of side income coming along, where doing things. There are financial investments that are happening that have been taking time and energy and effort to get that set up. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2-3 weeks, and that has worked out pretty well. And it looks like it's going to make me about $1,000 a month. So that's put that on the back burner. I've also decided that I needed to take a little bit of time off. I've been putting more effort into YouTube, doing 2 videos a week. But after looking at myself and reevaluating, I need a little bit of time off from developing the course. And so that's on hold. There's videos out there, and I have the syllabus, and it eventually will get completed, but I don't have a date for you. So I need a little bit of a different change of a medium. And so still doing all the stuff I normally do, but the course has sort of been put on hold. Started writing a little bit more in the book. So I don't know if that answers your question. And I know people want like hard dates, but it's going to be a little bit. So percentage-wise, how much do you save and invest from your paycheck? So that's an interesting question. Every month I invest about $2,500. So and by invest, I mean I pay down my mortgage by $2,500. I also keep a 6-month income supply ready if any shit hits the fan. Sometimes I dive into that and I have to pull out of it. One instance where I dove into it is I put a 250 feet of fence on the house, and that cost me about $5,000. So I put a brand new fence on the house, and I dove into that, and I replenished that recently. But I invest, and I'm using invest loosely here, but I do $2,500 extra on top of my mortgage every month because I want to get to that 20% to eliminate PMI. So that's about what I do. I would say if we were to break that down into actual percentage-wise, about a third, something around there. Maybe in a bad month where additional revenue streams didn't come in, a quarter, or 40% rather. After taxes, my checks are, I would say, actually it's more than that. I take it back. I was doing one paycheck. So $2,500. Let's say I get about $9,000 in my pocket every month after taxes and everything, and side incomes, and $2,500 of that. So about a third. I guess about a third was about right. Yeah. Do most jobs, I'm working through your algorithm course, do most jobs ask questions like this or more CS questions? They're more like that. So, you'll occasionally interview at like Microsoft and stuff. Well, they'll ask you to solve questions like that using a particular algorithm or data structure. Is it easier to get a QA job than a web dev job? I guess it depends. It's going to be easier if you want to be in QA, whatever it is you want to do. Do you need to be good at math to be good at algorithms? It probably doesn't hurt, but you really only need to understand basic algebra, I would say, for the average web dev role. Now, that may change for certain back-end roles with higher end data analytics and definitely machine learning and data science and all those sort of hot fields. $5K for a fence. Well, fences are expensive. Yeah, that's installed and everything, but 250 feet of fence. What are you gonna do, man? I called 3 different people. The highest one was 6K. Am I still doing Vue? Yeah, that's what I work in. So Ricky and I might be doing a project in Vue. He's going to be doing some of the UI UX aspects, and I'll handle the front end aspects down the road. How many hours do you need to study coding in a week as a software developer? As an employed one or someone looking to get into it? Is Python relevant for developers? I would say it is. I think it's definitely relevant. If you're looking to work in any of the fields that Python has worked in, or any of the fields Python has exploded in. Vue greater than Angular? So at first, I really liked Vue. At first. And then I hated it. Not hated it, but I liked Angular more. So the reason for it is Angular has a nice dependency injection that goes well with the dependency inversion principle. And that allows you to essentially do some very good testing. And I really like that. So how much experience should I have to work as a web designer? That's a hard question to answer, but what I would say is you just keep working at it until you are there. I'm great at JavaScript, but I absolutely suck at CSS. I'm really bad. I've tried an Maximilian Udemy course, but I still can't convert a basic template into a website. Any advice? Yes. Practice. Practice. And really take the time to understand the box sizing. Take the time to understand the border box, the CSS box model. Take the time to understand responsive design. These are just things that you have to practice. Do I feel like you've made it? That's a relative question. Am I better off than the average individual? Absolutely. I make close. I take home somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000 every month. There's lots of opportunities available for me in my field. I've worked very hard to get here. I have no debt minus my home loan because I've made smart decisions. My fridge is stocked with food, which wasn't always the case. I've been very open about the fact that I've been hungry and sleeping on floors in the past. And, my mother would bring me groceries and, depressed and crying. I've been open about how things weren't. We definitely didn't made it then. Is money when you say that, when you say you've made it, what you're really asking is money a concern anymore? Is that your number one stressor in life? And to that, I say, no, it's not. I don't have any concerns about money. In the sense that I can't pay my bills. I have 6 months of savings ready. I go in on Monday and they pull the plug, say, look, we got to cut you. That's going to suck, whatever, but I'm not going to be living paycheck to paycheck. That is a choice. I've done that. It's awful. It's awful. It's stressful. And people do that whether they make good money or bad money. And it's a lot easier than, there's people who make $200,000 a year that still are living paycheck to paycheck by some miracle because they live beyond their means. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the honest answer is I don't worry about money anymore. And that by most people's standards would say I made it. In my case, what I want, my goal is to be retired by 40. I'm 31. I will be 32 in October. So I have about 8-9 years or so to get there. How am I going to do that? By living below my means, building up passive income streams, and utilizing them. So what sort of passive income streams am I going to do? Well, investment properties. I'm currently, once I hit that 20% on the house, which will be in about 5 months, I'm looking into buying my first duplex. I'm buying low-cost duplexes in about the $150,000 range, which will generate a decent amount of return. At that price point, with a renter and the amount of income that I'm able to save, I can put 20% down, approximately $30,000 on a duplex, which rents as a single family, which can be financed as a single family home, which as you get into triplexes and quadplexes causes some financing issues. But I can put 20% down on that. Now, I don't have to, but I could do that every year if I'm smart with my money. And it will get easier year after year after year. So my personal game plan to where I feel like I've made it is when I am making $100,000 to $125,000 a year passively, and I have my investment properties. So and various other investments. So that is when I will feel like I've made it by my standards, and that is my game plan to retire in 9 years, and maybe sooner. Who knows how that all plays out? But that will be when I feel like I have made it. We're not talking about money today, man. Y'all, you guys are like, yo, how much you invest? Have you made it? Let me make this chat a little bit bigger. I'm having trouble seeing it. CSS is easy. JavaScript is difficult. We might beg to differ. I just got back into school after 8 years off. My plan is to get a software development associate's and a CS bachelor's. I have a Gen Ed associate's and some CSS classes already. Good plan. If you want to go and get the computer science bachelor's, great. I don't think you need to go out of your way to get the associates. Your associates don't matter. And I would say, if you just took 8 years off, you're probably a little bit of the older generation. You might be around my age. You might consider a boot camp. See what you can do with that. Might get you started going faster. It's going to take a lot more work and effort, but it might save you 3.5 years of school. Hey, just started my first dev job 3 weeks ago. Should I still study after work for about 3 to 4 hours every night? Yes. If I had to guess, you're not making 6 figures in your first web dev job and you want to in the next 2 years, go home and study. So you want to go make 6 figures, go study. At the very least, for your very first web job, the first 3 months, you need to be studying 2-3 hours a day. Just make sure you keep that job. All right. Just because you got hired doesn't mean you're going to keep that job. So keep that in mind. Start posting workouts in the garage. Oh God. Hey, look sexy. Hey, what's how you doing, Deb? What's up? You gonna drop some of that fan funding in here? Show me how much you appreciate me. How long does it take to be proficient in your first web dev role? I'm a month in. Definitely longer than a month. I don't know. It's different for everybody. I would say that, depending on the individual, some people it takes a year, some people it takes 2 years, some people it takes 6 months. Just be okay being overwhelmed. It's hard. It's hard being overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed very easy in life over simple things. And I asked April to do it for me. I get so frustrated. I'm like, I'm done with this shit. And I walk off, and then I come back after like 3 minutes. So I was like, hey, baby, do you think you can fill out this bank paperwork for me? So you can't do that in your personal life, right? So what I would say, or your professional life, probably shouldn't do it in your personal life, but we're a team. She fills in my gaps, I fill in hers, all right? In a non-perverted way. What I'm trying to say is be okay being overwhelmed. It's your first role. It's your first experience. It'd be like being a gringo like me, traveling the world, seeing some of these very impoverished, is that a word, impoverished? Seeing some of these very poor countries and not having it have an effect upon you. You're in a new environment. You're having a new experience, and it's going to take you a while to adjust. And in this case, it's going to take you a while to adjust and learn. So why do people say native's going away with the number of native openings still far outweigh those of React Native and Flutter? I mean, there's various reasons. I know, Waldo Mac, I know I've upset you quite a bit because anytime I talk about progressive web apps taking some of the jobs, you think I'm talking about an apocalypse of native applications. I'm not. What I'm talking about is there is a subset of web applications, or a subset of native applications can easily be done via web applications. So sorry, I gotta text this person back real quick. Yeah. How long do you think it would be for a web developer to move into data science? And when do you have to take a big pay cut? This is actually something I've thought about down the road, where if I wanted to get a raise, I could go into data science. If I wanted like a real raise like that, we in a new tax bracket raise, I'd jump into data science. And so how long would it be for me to get there? I think I'd have to dedicate 6 months to a year and a half if it comes down to it, because there's a whole lot of things that are going on in that field. So we'll have to look into that. Will employers get pissed if you apply a job that clearly states 1 to 3 years of experience? No, and don't worry about them getting pissed. Hey, I'm finishing up an associate's degree this semester. Should I transfer and study CS or self-study over the same time? Well, I kind of feel like if you're already halfway there, you might as well finish. With that being said, I'd be a hypocrite. So do whatever feels right for you. Would you say, another brick for Dylan's wall with $10 donation? I appreciate that, Robert. Thank you very much, sir. For those of you who don't know, you're wondering where that extra money comes from. It comes from y'all. All right, I appreciate that. Thank you, Robert. Where was I? So Mario G asks about 36 myths to train for web dev, age discrimination in the industry. What I can say to that is the same thing that I say for everybody. I got my first job at 28. I'm 31. And the individual who hired me was, I want to say like 34, 35. And that was his very first job in web dev. And he got hired maybe 6 months before me, 3 months, something like that. And what people are looking for, what organizations are looking for, isn't an age. We are looking for people who can do the job. And it's a lot harder than you think. It's a lot harder to find someone who's not only passionate, but skilled. So don't worry about it. Get better, improve, and move forward. What's something work-related that you struggled in the past? How do you overcome that? Poor requirements seems to be a general theme at every company I've worked at. How do you overcome that? You ask questions. You communicate directly with the business analyst or the product owner, whoever is writing that, and you get clarity. And sometimes you have to do that multiple times. Hey, good luck, Brian or Byron. Excuse me, Byron Blank on your React meetup. Looks good. Caesar, you'll do fine, man. Easy passive income doing ASMR. Dude, this ASMR stuff is crazy. Any Dolan coming up? I've been thinking, man, if we can, maybe we'll talk to Ricky, and Ricky and I can collab on something. Because honestly, the reason I haven't wanted to do a Dolan skit is the 2 videos we did, Ricky and I, with the green screen, and he did the edits. They were fire, absolute fire. So talk Ricky and doing some more edits, and we'll figure it out. So Dev Mountain online QA program did seem to be successful. That's why they cut it. I wouldn't exactly say that. They cut all their online programs. So I don't have any insider news other than what I was told was that they're discontinuing their online programs as they continue to reevaluate what's best for their platform. Caesar donates $9.99 and says, "Always appreciate your honest advice, brother." I appreciate that, Caesar, and I appreciate the kind comments, man. I don't always respond back. I seldom do because I'm so busy, but I do read most of the comments. I stopped for a little bit, but they got a little bit better, so I do check them out from time to time. Usually on the day I post the video, so that's about it, though. When you worked at Domino's and study in the evening, how many hours a day did you learn to code? So when I worked at Domino's for about 7 or 6 years at various points in my life, I spent a little bit of time on my YouTube channel, but the majority of the time I spent was about 6 months, and I was doing weekends, and I was still in school at this time, so not all that much. When I really learned to code was I took my first real role as a technical writer, as a technology trainer, which is a combo between a business analyst and a technical writer. And there I was spending 3 to 4 hours a day on the weekdays and like 8 to 14 on the weekends. It's pretty nutty. I went to a coding boot camp and just got hired as a DevOps engineer at 6 figures without any DevOps knowledge. Good times, kind of nervous. Good for you, man. Yeah, so DevOps is another great field to get into if that's something that they're interested in, that you're interested in. It's an interesting path. It's something that I don't particularly enjoy. I have had a little bit of DevOps experience, but it's not something I necessarily put on a resume. Joshua Fluke wants to do a collab video, but said on one of his videos he doesn't know how to contact you. Josh slid into my Instagram DMs, and he and I have been in contact a little bit. Oh, we haven't talked in about a week, but we were supposed to hop on a call and shoot the shit, but it hasn't happened. But it'll happen. It'll happen when it happens. You don't have Super Chat available in your location, Rip? No worries, man. You do you. What's the best framework for JavaScript? And you choose one. I think Vue is probably going to be the most user-friendly to get you going. You'll learn a lot of the fundamentals, routing, two-way binding. So, will I still apply for jobs that require degrees? Yes. How's my day? It's good, man. The weekend's here. The caffeine detox has been rough. I do feel better, but I do feel tired. I feel not as productive. But I think what it is I don't feel as anxious. So with the caffeine comes some anxiousness. It is what it is. Do you have that Boku no Hero Academia remix that you used to listen to? A lot of those slowly get taken off, so unfortunately not. Yeah. How many years of experience do you need to be a senior dev? About 30. Can you summarize DevOps? DevOps is setting up the routes or pipelines of your code actually going out. So like you'll have multiple environments, like a dev environment, a UAT, a test, a production, presumably, and they'll set that out, and there may be various pieces of logic. Like maybe your unit tests need to all run, and then the integration tests, and then the functional tests, and then we only wanted to go dev and test, and then we want a manual push to production, and setting up that CI/CD pipeline or route. That's DevOps. Their development of operations, DevOps. So they're essentially handled the deployment process. Any good resources to learn build tools? Nah, you tell me. Let me know though. Build tools are. Jesus Christ. You go and. You go and find one. A lot of times it's just you look it up when you need it. That's been my thing with build tools is you just sort of dive into it piece by piece. Do you think you would have been as good of a dev without your previous struggles? I think I wouldn't have been as motivated. I can be honest and say that I don't work as hard as I did when I was hungry and I hated school. So, would I have been as driven to continue on this channel is almost 4 years old, this sort of 4-year-old side project? That's up for debate, I'd say no. So. Am I a fan of Chris Hawk's? Yeah. I don't watch every one of Chris Hawk's videos, but I do. Is college important in web field? No. Not really. It all depends. Yeah, I mean, no is a simple answer. It's a very simplistic answer. Does it have an importance? Yeah. Can it help? Yes. Can you overcome it? Yes. Which I think is where people sort of forget. Some job postings require WordPress. Yeah, you can go and learn if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. Have I made friends out there? Yeah, I'm pretty close with a couple of my colleagues out here. It's my previous colleagues. Do I miss LA? No. I do miss good food. Florida's got sort of some jacked up food. Why are you so debt averse? Because I'd rather be making interest than paying interest. It's just it's just sort of a simple logic piece, really, at the end of the day. a lot of people get so in debt and they start living paycheck to paycheck, and they start to put on this impression of how great they are and this and that. It's me, man. I wear $10 gaming t-shirts pretty much everywhere but work, and sometimes at work. I try to have no debt because I like to have my income low in case anything, anything unfortunate happens. Let's not sexually harass anybody in the chat, huh? Got a yearly salary review coming up. Is 25% increase too much to ask? It's a hard sell. I would say that you can ask, but chances are you're probably going to go get a 35% increase somewhere else. The best thing you can do is to negotiate that salary review is go and get a offer elsewhere. If you can get 25% more elsewhere, go get it. Have you ever been tempted to go full sell? I'm going to start making Learn to Code in 3 months videos like other YouTubers. No. I have been tempted to do clickbait videos that aren't clickbait. Like that's too much. You're messing with people's life. Like I do something like just every time start talking like you want views? I go buy a new car. You know how many views I would get if I just bought this baller Beamer and threw it in there, and I just sort of, instead of filming in here in my office, just set up in the garage, had it behind me, just start talking with fat stacks of cash in my hand. I'd probably double or triple the views I get in my videos. People start taking me more seriously. It's a gimmick, but it totally works. So how much of free code camp did you do before you got an interview / job? About 3/4 of the front end dev certificate that they have since retired. Do I plan on buying duplex close by? It depends. But probably not. Is XML an outdated technology? For the most part, you're probably 95% of the time going to be dealing with JSON. Who is Dolan? Dolan is a character who teaches you what not to do. If you go and search how to not learn to code, you'll eventually see Dolan somewhere. You're not really sure what a duplex is? Think of two small houses that are connected. You can think of it as a 2-unit apartment complex. So in most people's cases, you would buy they're not always small. It depends on the area and the price and all that, but the ones I'm talking about. So yeah, in a certain scenario, you might live in one and rent the other one out. Do I still have that robe that I'm wearing in old videos? Yes. That robe I've had with me since I was like 19. I was dating a young lady at the time when I was a young man, young stud, as they say. And she worked at a nail salon and like massage parlor. And those robes went on sale, and they're normally $100. And it was like, yeah, with my discount, it'll be like $9. That thing is heavy. It's wonderful, and it's like 95% bamboo. It's a fantastic robe. I've had it for like that. That's one of the few items. So here, I'm gonna tell you something. When you date a girl seriously and you live together, and you build a life together, what ends up happening is anything that existed before she existed in your life slowly gets thrown out. That robe's not going anywhere though. So yeah, but yeah, see, Neil knows what I'm talking about. Everything else. So it's like, you know how like there's BC, AD. It's more like this: before April, and then there's no after April, but there's before April, and that shit always somehow gets thrown out. I don't understand how it goes. Good luck with your boot camp, PJ. So thank you to Robert and to I apologize, I'm forgetting. I know Robert and Caesar for donating. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that very much so. We've been here about an hour just kicking it. It's been fun. It's been real. I need to go have some dinner, enjoy myself a little bit. With that being said, if you guys are ever interested in any books I recommend, there's links in the description below, as well as my courses that I've built. I highly recommend the 100 Algorithm Challenge. I think will help you get prepped for those technical interviews. Good practice at the very least. And as always, don't forget to like the video so other people can know. Other people can see what's going on and have some fun as well. And come join us next week. If you haven't subbed, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. I appreciate you all. Good luck in whatever it is you're trying to do. I'll see you next week and look forward to Tuesday's video. Bye, guys.